Selena Gomez was described stepping into September with a confidence that many might not have expected, as observers noted she appeared to be challenging the notion that mini dresses should be folded away once the colder months arrive, with her style moves in New York offering proof that the short hemline could continue to thrive deep into autumn, and reporters relayed that yesterday she showcased not one but two sleek mini dresses, making it evident that in her perspective nobody interpreted the mini with more flair than the French, and in both moments she leaned into the chic aesthetic codes of Jacquemus, whose pieces she had chosen for the day. Commentators recounted how her first appearance highlighted the Castagna cherry red knit mini dress, a design by the brand that combined sophistication with seasonal warmth, and it was detailed that the dress carried a high neckline, sleeves that stopped just above the elbow, and a form built from merino wool blended with cashmere, which immediately projected both elegance and comfort. Witnesses remarked that Gomez styled the vibrant piece with metallic red Christian Louboutin heels, amplifying the vivid nature of the look, though it was suggested by stylists that the dress itself could easily adapt into autumn or even winter wardrobes with additions such as sheer black tights or tall knee-high boots, making it a versatile choice beyond its initial outing. Reports further indicated that this first ensemble captured an ideal balance between bold statement and practical layering, reminding many how a single garment, when designed with precision, could be stretched across multiple occasions and climates. The observers then shifted to her second outfit of the day, noting that she transitioned into a more muted palette but one still charged with refinement, as she selected a little black asymmetric mini dress, again from Jacquemus, which commentators recognized as the robe trapeze, a style infused with Parisian elegance and a slightly rebellious twist. Accounts emphasized that the dress carried a folded collar and subtle metallic detailing at the shoulder, features that gave the familiar black mini silhouette a sharper identity, and they remarked that this alignment with French design codes underscored Gomez's ability to move seamlessly from color-charged boldness to understated minimalism within a single day. Those observing her choices confirmed that she wore the asymmetric dress with peep-toe black mules from Black Suede Studio, and what stood out to many was her decision to avoid any additional accessories, letting the structure of the garment and the clean lines of the shoes complete the aesthetic without distraction. At this point in the reports, it was made clear that Gomez's double outing reinforced her ongoing relationship with the mini, a garment she had been spotted embracing frequently over the past year, with previous examples cited such as the little white dresses she had showcased in January, her rose motif Magda Butrym look in the spring, and even the archival Mugler dress she selected during promotions for the collaborative album, I Said I Love You First, with her fiancé Benny Blanco. Subscribe for more style exclusives and celebrity fashion moments. Those familiar with her fashion trajectory described that if audiences had once imagined the mini dress to be confined to summer wardrobes, Gomez had been making a strong argument that its place extended far beyond, using her platform and appearances to shift perceptions of seasonality in clothing. Insiders noted how in each case she did not simply wear the pieces but embodied them in a way that magnified their intended impact, turning standard street moments into runway-worthy snapshots. They mentioned that in January her double appearances in white mini dresses had been received as a nod to freshness and renewal, aligning with the energy of a new year, while in spring the Magda Butrym rose motif had tied directly into themes of bloom and romance, and the Mugler archival piece during album promotions reflected a connection to history, heritage, and artistry. Analysts suggested that these choices demonstrated an evolving strategy where each outfit functioned not merely as clothing but as narrative, a kind of storytelling through fabric and form. Fashion editors observing her September choices commented that she seemed to be making a calculated yet playful statement, that the mini could maintain relevance across seasons and moods, and that French designers in particular offered her the ideal toolkit to communicate this point. They added that by stepping into Jacquemus, she aligned herself with a label known for balancing whimsy with structure, sensuality with discipline, and in doing so she amplified her own image as someone willing to blend mainstream celebrity with fashion insider cues. Those who witnessed her red Castagna knit look live remarked on how the vibrant color resonated against the early autumn backdrop of New York streets, while the second black asymmetric choice communicated refinement under city lights, giving the impression of a day-into-night fashion story that unfolded in real time across Manhattan. Photographers following her movements described how crowds gathered as she walked, not only for her celebrity presence but also because her styling choices seemed carefully curated to spark conversation, social media shares, and media coverage, which in turn extended the life of the garments beyond their immediate wear. This strategy of visibility was said to be consistent with Gomez's broader approach, one where her fashion, music, and public appearances intersect to form a comprehensive personal brand. Style commentators recalled that her long-standing role on Only Murders in the Building had already positioned her as a figure blending Hollywood with New York sophistication, and her off-screen wardrobe often mirrored that sensibility, drawing attention to both high fashion and accessible trends. They pointed out that while many celebrities transition into fall with coats, trousers, and layers, Gomez instead chose to underline continuity, signaling that the mini could be an anchor piece not just for warm weather but as a statement of confidence and adaptability in colder climates as well. Industry voices remarked that this positioning was clever because it challenged audiences to reconsider their own fashion habits, making her not only a participant in trends but also a subtle influencer of them. Subscribe for updates on the latest celebrity looks and runway inspirations. Journalists covering her September day reported that in both looks she carried herself with poise, projecting ease even as cameras surrounded her, and they noted how her minimal use of accessories, her reliance on bold color in one instance and sharp asymmetry in another, reflected an intentional choice to let structure and fabric dominate rather than external embellishment. They explained that such restraint often defined Parisian dressing, where confidence came from tailoring and silhouette rather than an overload of accessories. This echoed the commentary that Gomez, in aligning with Jacquemus, was signaling appreciation for that aesthetic philosophy. Commentators also compared her dual looks with some of her earlier fashion appearances this year, reinforcing that her reliance on the mini dress was not casual but part of a deliberate repetition, a pattern that revealed both personal comfort and strategic branding. They highlighted how earlier in January her double white mini choices spoke to purity and rebirth, how in spring the floral motif aligned with seasonal cycles, and how the Mugler archival dress reflected reverence for legacy design, painting a portrait of someone using clothing to connect personal milestones with broader cultural narratives. As observers summed it up, Gomez was not only wearing minis but rewriting their seasonal and symbolic relevance, and this September outing in New York had crystallized that effort in public consciousness. Observers continued to recount how Selena Gomez's September style moments unfolded with a sense of deliberate rhythm, emphasizing that both Jacquemus' looks seemed to tell a connected story, one about versatility and reinvention, and those following her noted that she carried them with composure that gave the impression she was as comfortable on New York streets as on red carpets, suggesting a seamless blend of public persona and personal ease. Reporters recalled that in choosing the Castagna cherry red knit dress, Gomez immediately drew attention for pairing warmth with boldness, and her decision to match it with metallic Christian Louboutin heels was interpreted as a way of intensifying the drama of the look, while fashion insiders pointed out that the dress itself had enough substance to adapt well into cooler temperatures with the right styling. They mentioned how stylists quickly suggested alternatives like black tights and boots, demonstrating how her single choice was capable of sparking dialogue among fans and professionals about seasonal adaptation, which in turn expanded the reach of her influence. Witnesses said that by the time she appeared in her second look, the asymmetric black robe trapeze, Gomez had already established herself as the subject of discussion for the day, and this follow-up ensemble proved she was not limiting her narrative to color vibrancy but could equally deliver subtlety and edge. Observers added that this particular design, with its folded collar and minimal metallic accents, conveyed a refined rebellion, echoing French fashion traditions that mix restraint with provocation, and they remarked that Gomez's choice to wear it without accessories amplified its structure. Critics and fans alike repeated that the effect of both outfits was heightened by the way she moved through the city, creating cinematic moments where ordinary streets became temporary stages, and each look gained extended life as photographs, posts, and commentary proliferated across media platforms. Subscribe for more updates on celebrity style transformations. Writers chronicling her recent history of minis highlighted that this September outing was not an isolated event but rather part of a sequence where Gomez had returned to shorter silhouettes repeatedly, with examples stretching from her January white minis to her rose motif Magda Butrym piece and culminating in the archival Mugler. They drew attention to how these choices intersected with her music and public identity, linking them to promotional appearances, seasonal shifts, and personal milestones, and the repetition of the mini was interpreted not as lack of imagination but as deliberate branding. Observers argued that Gomez was consciously staking her claim on the mini as part of her evolving signature style, showing how one cut of garment could be endlessly reinterpreted through color, fabric, and design detail, whether wool, floral embroidery, or sculptural structure. Reporters emphasized that in doing so, she echoed traditions of fashion icons who became associated with particular garments but updated them consistently, creating both continuity and novelty. They mentioned how her ability to shift from cherry red vibrancy to black asymmetry within a single day mirrored the duality of her artistic career, where she could balance music and acting, vulnerability and glamour. Photographers on the scene described how fans reacted enthusiastically, with many calling out her name, taking photos, and commenting live on social media, and those reactions added to the momentum, ensuring that her fashion narrative quickly dominated digital feeds. Fashion editors explained that the collaboration with Jacquemus was particularly resonant, because the brand itself carried a reputation for playful sophistication, something that aligned perfectly with Gomez's public image, and they noted that the French label's reputation for making minis central to its collections gave additional credibility to her seasonal push. Commentators suggested that by stepping into Jacquemus at this moment, she not only highlighted her own style confidence but also promoted the brand to broader audiences, creating mutual benefit between celebrity and designer. Industry analysts pointed out that such alignments often went beyond clothing, functioning as strategic partnerships that kept both names circulating in cultural conversation. Stylists recounted how Gomez's earlier embrace of Mugler had evoked legacy and high fashion heritage, while her Magda Butrym piece tied her to contemporary floral romanticism, and they contrasted those with Jacquemus's modern, clean Parisian aesthetic, suggesting that her selections reflected a wide range of affiliations that collectively positioned her at the crossroads of tradition and modernity. Journalists remarked that the consistent thread through all these looks was her reliance on the mini silhouette, and they speculated that this consistency was a way of signaling identity, a visible declaration of preference that fans could recognize and replicate. Some analysts argued that her repetition of minis across seasons encouraged audiences to reframe their own closets, seeing minis not as temporary but as perennial staples, and in this way she functioned as both role model and trendsetter. Subscribe for continuous stories on fashion icons and their evolving styles. Observers also pointed out how Gomez's decision to pair the red knit with bold metallic footwear and the black asymmetric with restrained mules demonstrated adaptability, showing that the same silhouette could be styled for drama or for minimalism depending on the surrounding choices, and that adaptability resonated with fans who sought practical inspiration. Reporters noted that this duality captured in one day reflected her broader public persona, where she balanced bold artistic projects with understated personal interviews, and that this symmetry likely contributed to her relatability. Stylists mentioned how her avoidance of accessories in the second look made space for the structure of the robe trapeze to shine, and they highlighted how that restraint was typical of Parisian approaches to dressing, where confidence in tailoring replaced reliance on excess detail. Fans who watched her moves in New York described excitement, noting that the photographs felt like scenes from a fashion editorial even though they were taken in ordinary city spaces, and this blending of everyday environment with high fashion aesthetic was said to be part of her appeal. Industry insiders suggested that such moments were not accidental but carefully orchestrated, pointing to how celebrities often plan their public outings with designers and stylists to maximize cultural impact. They reiterated that Gomez's September day was successful not only because of the garments themselves but because of the story they told together, moving from red vibrancy to black restraint, from daytime warmth to evening chic. Writers concluded that by repeating her allegiance to minis, she had reminded audiences of their adaptability, their narrative potential, and their enduring relevance. Analysts further connected these choices to her personal timeline, recalling that she was simultaneously navigating her career in acting, music, and personal life, and suggested that her clothing became a subtle reflection of these layers, functioning as signals to fans without explicit statements. Observers underlined how her promotion of her collaborative album alongside Benny Blanco had intertwined with her Mugler selection, how her spring romance motif aligned with her public life at that moment, and how her September appearances coincided with transitions into autumn both literally and metaphorically. They argued that these overlaps contributed to why her fashion choices felt impactful. They resonated not only visually but contextually. Commentators reminded audiences that Gomez's career had long intertwined with fashion, from early Disney appearances where she leaned on accessible youth brands to her later years where she stepped confidently into luxury labels, and that this trajectory reflected growth in both her artistry and her image. Those present in New York confirmed that her September mini dress day captured all these elements, consolidating her identity as someone who navigated multiple spheres with apparent ease. Photographers described the light capturing the cherry red against the city background, while others remarked on how the asymmetry of the black robe trapeze caught shadows at night, and these sensory details amplified the visual storytelling. Observers also noted that her confidence in wearing shorter hemlines during early fall weather sent a message that style was not always dictated by temperature but by mood, identity, and statement. Fashion journalists emphasized that in doing so, Gomez subtly encouraged audiences to approach their wardrobes with more freedom, challenging conventions about seasonal clothing. They highlighted that this was not done through overt declarations but through visible action, her presence in public spaces making the point without needing words. Critics summarized that in this way, Gomez turned her September appearances into more than style notes. They became cultural cues, moments that shifted conversation and reminded people of fashion's power to redefine expectation.